Hello, everyone, and welcome, a very warm welcome to this issue of The Future is Here, where I'm really honoured and delighted to be welcoming Jean-Marc Leger to join me and to talk to me a little bit about Leger Marketing and the business in Canada. Jean-Marc, thank you so much for joining us today.
It's a pleasure, and I will share some business secrets to you and for the Esomar attendees for them to give them some clue to succeed.
Fantastic. Jean-Marc, just for anybody who doesn't know you, and I'm sure that's only a very small number of people, but tell us a little bit about Leger Marketing. You've been around for quite some time, so a little bit of a little history of the company.
Yeah, we created this company with my father 35 years ago, and now Leger is the largest Canadian-owned market research, polling, and analytics company. We have 600 employees, 8 offices across the country, in Canada and also in USA. And you know, the Canadian market is different than many markets in the world. In Canada, you must be in the regional market if you want to do business. For example, we have an office in Montreal because we want to do business in the province of Quebec. We have an office in every province. We have an office in Vancouver to do business in British Columbia. So it's different than the USA. USA, you only need one office to do business across USA, no matter where you're coming from. As much as you are an American, they want to deal with Americans. So every country has its own culture. So that's why over the years we did 10 acquisitions to get local talent, to be sure that people in the province know the market. So that's why we grew so quickly over the years.
So there's the first hint. If you're thinking of doing business in Canada, you've got to be in all of the provinces, I guess, right?
Exactly. And all the market is different. For example, in Toronto, 1 people out of 2 were born outside Canada. 50% of people living in Toronto were born outside Canada. That's fantastic. For researchers, it's a challenge because you have to translate, you have to work differently. But the city is fantastic because it's probably the most international city in the world. So you have to adapt to this city. Montreal is a French city. So you could recognize my French accent. So every cities are different in Canada, but it's a huge market, and the economy is pretty solid despite the pandemic. Fine.
Very good. Well, look, that's a great segue, I guess, into the challenges that we've all been facing over the last little while. The past 18 months, I'm not sure anybody forecast or could have seen coming. So how did it turn out for you and your business throughout since the beginning of 2020 when the pandemic was first notified to now? How have things gone?
We don't want to say too loudly, but we like crisis. It's always opportunity, political crisis, economic crisis, and even the pandemic. Of course, it's different from a sector to another sector. If you're in a travel business, restoration, or detail, it's a different than if you are in the financial sector, healthcare sector, or even in the public affairs sector, where the government invested a lot in research. So overall, as a company, we grew by 21%. So 21%, it's important. And we're happy with that for many reasons, but the main reason is because the economy is solid. So that means, and we're so strong in healthcare business where a lot of millions were invested over the last few months.
So, I mean, that's clearly a wonderful surprise. I guess one that may not have been that expected at the start of the pandemic. Were there any other surprises that the COVID, times brought to the business?
Yeah, maybe the most important one is the fact that the market changed. It means, of course, it's not the same thing, but the trends were there before, are still there, but we live in a new world with these trends. For example, it's like we take a great 5 years leap forward. For example, working from home. It was there before, but now all of people's working from home. Same thing on digital purchases. In Canada, we did a study. 69% of Canadians did their first online purchases during the pandemic. So it was there before, but we saw an acceleration. Same thing for local purchase was also important. So you see a lot of trends already existed before, and it changed a lot during the year. So we need to adapt to this new reality. And of course, it's our employees working from home. So it's so different. So we need to adapt to that. We were pretty ready before because we invest a lot in technologies. But that creates other issue. The main issue for a company like us, like me in Canada, is to recruit talent, because the economy is so solid that it's difficult to recruit talent and to find the right employees. So that limits my growth, because it's difficult to find talents in every cities across. So we have a different problem. It's always a problem. It's always an opportunity on the other side also. So for us, we're in a good shape, good position, but we need to adapt to these new realities. And one of the things also, Finn, that I appreciate during the pandemic, it's you could reach your clients. Clients are there. So when you call a client, he's always there. So, sometimes it's difficult, but sometimes it's easier, because of course they're working from home and they're more available to talk to you. So you have to take advantage and to find a way, and mainly, Finn, follow the money, where the clients are investing, where they are. So you could not you decide what the market will be. You just need to hear where the market is going.
There's a bunch of great points there, Jean-Marc, and let me come back to some of them in a moment. But firstly, just to finish off, I guess, on the kind of the financial performance of the business and the market, do you see the coming years, do you anticipate seeing similar levels of growth again? Or do you see that reducing a little bit, given that we have accelerated, if you like, the transformation this year? How do you see the growth over the next coming years?
It's always difficult to predict the future. I'm an economist, and of course, we're really good to predict when it's 2 or 3% of change. But when it's 5, 10, 15% of change, nobody could predict what happened at the economic crisis a few years ago, the pandemic. So it's difficult to predict. We have some indicators that some sectors are going really well. So we need to invest in these sectors, and other sector will need also information. For example, we're just starting to do research in the travel and tourism business. So it was dead for over the last few months, but now we could see the first start, because people starting to travel around the world. So you have to just to find where the market is going. It's difficult to predict what will happen in the next few months. We know that the economy will be solid in North America overall. Indicators are good. We have to check a few, the inflation rate, for example, the unemployment rate. So we have to check where the companies, where the market is leaning. But overall, we think that the economy will be solid for the next 12 months. More than that, difficult to predict.
Okay. So moving on to the point about working from home, you mentioned that clearly was, again, a trend that accelerated an awful lot. And you rightly pointed out, Jean-Marc, that it may have been a practice that was more evident, for example, in places like the US or other countries. But do you see that continuing, or do you see that people will want to come back to the office? What do you see as the mix moving forward?
We just finalized a large study for the Board of Trade here in Canada, and overall, 20% of the employees want to go back to the office full-time. Only 20%. 1 out of 5. So we have a 53% of the people who said they're okay to work 2 or 3 days per week at the office, and all the others, they don't want to come back at the office. I have, for example, employees in Toronto. They just bought a house 2 hours from the Toronto downtown. They don't want to go at the office anymore. So that's, we need to react to that. We are also, in this survey, we have more than 40% of the employees who said if you don't give them flexibility, they will leave the company. So you need to adapt to this new reality, the fact that business will change. So what we do, we take advantage of this over the last few months, and we totally change our location. So open space, new Wi-Fi, a lot of technologies inside the company. So to be sure that we will attract our employees and ensure they will come back to the office a few days a week. So we adapt ourselves to that, but at the end, it's the employee who will decide what will happen.
And how do you see the challenge then growing in terms of giving them access to the corporate culture, the corporate mindset, the fact that, part of the strength, if you like, of many teams is being able to bounce ideas off each other, which, with the best will in the world, isn't always that easy over a Zoom call or a digital interface. But how do you see that moving forward in the organization? And even when you recruit new staff, training them and getting them to see and feel and smell what a company is about.
You're so right. The onboarding process, for example, is so different. We have 23% of our employees who are new employees who never work at the office. You understand? So that means how you could how you could share the culture of the company. So it's a huge challenge. On the other side, you cannot oblige the employees to come working at the office and doing team meeting. So at the same time, you need to create. So what we did in Canada, it was interesting. First, the company established the basic rules. So that means you must meet your team at least one per month. You must have a weekly meeting by team. So you have a few rules like that we established. After that, we ask all our teams. So we have 22 teams. We ask them to work on a team chart. So every team will decide their own rules. So, and this is for the next 6 months. It's a pilot project we did in Canada. So they will establish their rule, and we'll see how this will evolve. So the key for me is to hear what the employees want to say, ask them to decide. But after that, yes, we give them flexibility. But after that, when the rules are clear, they must respect the rules. Because we could not have employees who's working on Monday, the other one on Friday, and the other one always take vacation the first or last day of the week. So you could not manage that way. So we need to establish rules, but we ask the employees, based on our basic rules, to establish their future. And people appreciate that because they commit themselves. So that's the first step to create the culture for the company, for the employees to understand the flexibility we have, and also the fact that we're open to suggestions. So we'll see. So we're working on that currently, and now we need to be sure that all the teams are similar rules at the end. So that's the third step of this process. And what we learned, Finn, I was surprised. We always learn from our employees. At the end, they don't want to come to the office to meet their own team. They're working with their team all week long. They have so many. So yes, they want to talk to them, but they want to talk to the other team. So my public affairs team want to talk to the healthcare team to exchange ideas. So how do you manage that? Because they all want to work with the other team. So it's really a new world that we're building day after day. So that's the reason why we said it is a 6 months pilot project, and let's work at it together.
Fascinating. Actually, that may be a point, Jean-Marc, that we'll use, maybe just to reference also this interview a little bit later on. I'm sure others would be delighted to hear of some of your experiences and learnings from that process. And maybe you'd even come and tell us a bit more about it once you've gone through that process for a little while longer.
Exactly. We know where we start. We don't know where we will end.
The most interesting journeys, though, right? They're always the most interesting journeys.
Exactly.
You mentioned earlier on, too, that, some sectors grew much faster than you had anticipated. Within the Leger group, did you see the same reflected in your own business? Were there elements of the business that you felt, wow, they did much better than I expected, and that one didn't do quite as well as we thought during the last number of months? Was that a mix that came?
Yeah, exactly. A mix of that plus a geographical issue. Some regions were really good, so the east part of Canada was really dynamic. The western part was more difficult. So we have also the economy was not different because the west part of Canada was based on oil industry. So this was an industry who collapsed over the last few months. So you have the sectors, so market sectors, but you have also some office that we need to manage. But overall, the fact that we have so much project, the main issue is we could not manage all the project we receive. So I'm calling the competitors to say, do you want to take care of these clients? Because I can't. So this is a really interesting problem overall over the years. But of course, the public affairs sector, the healthcare sector, the financial sector, as we discussed earlier, are key. So if I have an advice to everyone, it's, follow the money. Where are people invested? Where the economy is good? And of course, public affairs was not really good over the last few years because they cut a lot of money. But the last few months was fantastic. So we don't know how long it will take because they have to reimburse the debt somewhere in the future. But currently it's good.
Absolutely. And as you rightly point out too, Jean-Marc, they were probably the people that spent most on trying to understand what citizens' opinions were as they tried to navigate the interesting waters of the pandemic.
Exactly. A politician told me a really interesting phrase. He said, we don't govern based on the poll, okay? But the poll gives me the level of courage I need when we have to work on some issues. So that was an interesting.
I like it. Look, switching angles a little bit. You also referenced a little bit earlier on, how much how much easier it was to get in contact with the clients because, of course, they were at home too. Tell me a little bit about how you saw that the demand side of the business change during the pandemic. Did client demands change? Did they vary? Were there different things that they needed? How did that evolve for you?
We can see three main challenges or three main trends we're having on the client side. The first one, probably the most important one, it's insourcing. So clients who want to do more internally, mainly because of security reason. So they don't want to share their own data. So the pressure is high. I just saw the Ray Pointer study said that 40%, a year ago it was 40% of their business was internally, and now it's 48%, so 20% more. So we need to address. Of course, the overall market is growing. So as a company, we're continue to grow, but we need to understand that. And of course, insourcing is an issue, but it's also an opportunity. Means clients have access to so many data, they don't know what to do with that. So the market will change from a data collection to the insight part of the work. That's the first trend. The second trend, it's linked to this one, is all the platform. Do-it-yourself platforms or Qualtrics or Medallia or all these platforms that the clients implement. So it's that could compete us. At the same time, what we did in our company is rather than compete against them, we create partnerships. So we are the Qualtrics and Medallia representative in Canada. So because they need our insights expertise that we're having. So that's the way. So we need to adapt to this new reality. And the third trend for me, it's clients want to do more with less money. So they're really demanding. And if you don't offer more, you're in deep trouble. If you're not more intelligent than your clients, you're in deep trouble. So that means you need to really understand these trends and adapt to. On our side, what I saw over the years is the main trends from my perspective, and nobody talk about that, it's partnership. Partnership is so important. My main competitors are also my main clients because we have an online panel, because we have qual expertise, because we have different CX expertise. A lot of my competitors work with me. So, and I want to tell you a short story about it. You know, we are the largest Canadian-owned company, but Ipsos is number one. Overall, it's coming from France, so it's number one. So we have a huge campaign that we want to promote. It was this one. We're proud to be second because our clients comes first. But just before launching this campaign, I said, I should not hurt Ipsos. He's my best friend. We're doing a lot of business with Ipsos. And that's a new world. So we have a lot of partnership with competitors. We have partnership with the different technology platform. And this is the key to succeed. You could not be the best everywhere. We had, for example, our own CX platform, but overall the Qualtrics and Medallia platform was better than us. So they approached us and we let go of our platform and working with them. So the question is to create partnership. And that's why Esomar is so important, crucial for a company like us. Because Esomar gave us an overview of the global trends, but also we gave us the opportunity to create these partnerships, to understand who's the best in the world and trying to get these kind of partnership overall. So this is crucial for the future of the company. You could not be yourself in your own office and trying to get clients. You can't do it anymore. You need to open to the world and to see who's the best across the world and try to work with them.
Well, firstly, thank you for the compliment because that was entirely unexpected. But you raised a very good point, Jean-Marc, which I think was also reinforced by a lady called Michelle Gans from Mars a number of years ago, where she said, you know, the opportunity for us within Mars is to get our suppliers to work together, because if we're getting Nielsen data or consumer data or our own internal data, what we need is to be able to leverage and to synthesize all of that information for our benefit. And so she said then, you know, the partnership and the ability to create partnerships with what would otherwise be regarded as competitors is critical. And I think you've just reinforced that, to be honest.
Yeah, and someone else, I don't remember who said that, but data is the most valuable asset in the world. We are in this business, and Esomar changed over the years. Before it was only for market research. Now you have a more large impact across the world in different industries, and it's so important. We are the best to manage the data. So you need to adapt yourself to these new realities, and clients need help. because they have so much information, so much different platforms, so much information. And many times when I work with clients, they have a lot of contradiction. One platform says something, the other platform say the other thing. So what's the reality behind? That's our job.
Agreed. Now, you may remember, Jean-Marc, a number of years ago, for about 6 years, one after another, it was always, oh, this will be the year of mobile, this will be the year of mobile, the time when we were struggling with how to deal with mobile. Many people have said that this is now the year of platforms. Do you think it's going to be the same? Do you think for the next 6 years it's going to be the year of platforms? Or do you think we have learned to embrace that technology more easily now?
Yeah, platform is a tool. It's like, for example, when the radio was created in the 20s, people said it's the end of newspaper because radio is there. Or when the TV was created in the 50s, we said it's the end of the radio and newspapers because the TV is there. Internet arrived and we say it's the end of the other. Every tools will find its market. So the platform will be there, insight will be there. The question is some of us will take advantage of these platforms. Some are really powerful, others are not powerful, and the market will decide. When we bought a CX company, a CX platform 8 years ago, we were one out of 30 companies across the world. Now it's 1 out of 3,000 platforms across the world. So how you could compete? So we will have a lot of different platforms. I'm talking just the CX platform. So we have a lot of qual platform and all of the platform. So the question is how we compete. The question is what our clients need. We don't care about competition. We don't care about platform. How we want to be sure that the clients have the right insights at the right moment. That's our job.
So, as you started out by saying, the pandemic has accelerated a lot of the trends that we were perhaps a little bit slow maybe to accept or to realize in the past. Do you now see any new trends that we have to become more aware of over the course of the next 3 to 5 years? Is there a new, I won't say a pandemic, but, is there a new thing that we now need to be far more conscious of as we look to the business for the next 5 to 10 years?
Of course, the artificial intelligence is one of the key of them, It changed over the years, and a lot of people's talking about machine learning, deep learning, and all that stuff. Now it's true. Now a lot of clients use that kind of artificial intelligence. So as a market researchers, we need to better understand and master these tools and help us to improve the insights. Over the years, our business came from answering the question what. So how much we measure. After that, answering the question, why? That was the qual research. After that, the how the process, how consumers think that way or doing that kind of behaviors. After that, we measure the when. Clients want to do in real time. Now we enter in the world of what if. So the main trends overall is to predict the future. And that's not an easy question because as opposed to we're really good to predict the past. Predict the future, it's another issue. And I think we should work at it. So our insights must help the clients to minimize the margin of error. And that's the key. So yes, we could talk about analytics. We could talk about CX. We could talk about artificial intelligence and all the tools, platform, everything. But they're all tools to help the clients to predict the future. So the major trend is this one. Trying to predict the future, and this is the key. We said that we are researchers. We're not researchers. We're finders. That's so different because we're there to help the client, and that's the for me it's the challenge for our industry.
I love it. So our crystal ball will become now a ball of circuitry, which is the AI to help us predict the future.
Exactly. And that will help one way or the other. It will be part of our world. Like at the beginning, you remember a few years ago when social media was the main trend, how you will master the social media. Well, we found a way to use it and to make it useful. Now artificial intelligence is the new frontier.
So, Jean-Marc, two last questions, just while to close it off. You have been an entrepreneur. You're now the president and CEO of a global company. But if someone was now in the middle of changing their business or even struggling to change their business from what it was to something that's more digital, given that that's been the flux, what would be your one key piece of advice to that person who's trying to change?
In Canada, we have a big star, hockey player, Wayne Gretzky. He was one of the best of the world. He said something really interesting. He said he always skates where the puck is going, not where the puck has been. So it's really important to understand these trends, to be informed, to understand where the market is leaning, where the client is leaning. Don't care about platform, don't care about competitors. Take care about your clients. So my main advice is that to be closer to the clients. And it's difficult these days because you could not have a coffee with the clients. You could not talk with them personally. It's always more formal, a 20 minutes meeting on team platform. So it's difficult to develop that kind of relationship. But I think it's to better understand the clients, how you could adapt, how you could be sure that you're flexible in answering the client's questions. So for me, the clients is the answer. And the second one, I said that to my team. Always work on your successes. What was your main successes last year? Explain to me. So my leaders always have discussion talking about the successes and say, okay, you're good on that, you're less good on that. Let's focus where you're good. And you will have more fun to do it, but also you will be more successful. That's one of the reasons why, for me personally, I survive. I know where I'm not good. So I hired people who are better than me to manage things. Working with university, for example, is too long for me. I like working with them, but it's a long meeting. I have researchers who are so good working with university because they're more patient than me. But I have other clients who need me because, it's more concrete, direct. They want to take a decision, So you need to find a way. So the success is coming from hearing the clients and to understand your own soul. What do you like to do in this business? If you are at the right place, you will find the solution. So it's really personal. The success of your company is really your own success. So if you know yourself, you will be better.
So is that, because my last question to you would be, imagine tomorrow you're no longer the CEO, but you become the mentor to a whole bunch of new startups, right? And they're looking for funding. They think they've got a great idea, which is going to change the world. What would be your advice to them? Is it find your soul and move it, or is it something a little bit different to those guys who are, the next generation of gurus?
Yeah, and they will win. They will be better than us, I'm pretty sure, because they're more educated, they're more rich, they're more technological people, techie people, so they have all the asset overall. But at the same time, if I have a main advice, is in the future, you must be more specialized. In our business here, when we enter in the industry, we have to be general. You have a general knowledge, because we're working with so different clients. That change. You must have an added value. You must be more intelligent than your clients. So that's my main advice. Specialize. Be an expert on something that you like, and you will succeed. Because when you like something, you always learn something new. You continue to read papers, you continue to discuss with the people. So when you arrive at the right place, you have an added value. So develop your own added value, be specialized. So the market changed from a general market to a specialized market. That will be my main advice to the next generation.
And if I guess and if
maybe listen also to the older generation, because sometimes they don't listen enough.
Yeah, I know. My sons tell me that all the time, but that's a separate story. Jean-Marc, it's really, thank you. Thank you for spending the time. Thanks for sharing some of the ideas. There's an awful lot in there, I think, which an awful lot of people will learn from. And as I said, particularly in relation to how you structure the business internally and the ways of working and how you work with your staff. Maybe we can come back to you in a few months' time and ask you a little bit more about how that's all worked out for you. So for the moment, thank you very much indeed.
So it's a real pleasure. Thank you, Finn.